Hey everybody, Joe Coffey here for PremierGuitar.com. We are at the LA Amp Show 2010, just hanging out, looking at gear, seeing who there is hanging out to, and we ran into somebody who you've been listening to for a very long time, Andy Johns.
I suppose I could start by saying I'm so grateful that electric guitars were invented. That, of course, would have happened whomever first came up with the idea of putting a Victrola needle with the up and down thing and putting it into some sort of amplification. Someone else. I invented reverse echo, and I was probably 2 days before someone else.
Of course, the long history, the Zeppelin, the Stones, but let me ask you, what are you doing now? What are you up to?
Right now I'm working with Frankie Infante, and who just left the room, but he'll be back in a minute. Frankie's a gas. He's an old punker. I did produce Marquee Moon with television, which still has never been out of print after 33 years in actual fact, 33 years. And it's the only punk album I ever did. Oh boy, those people can be a little tough. And then I've been working with Hal, who is an excellent, excellent musician. One of the best ones I've worked with in several years. I just finished doing some stuff that was very close to my heart for Eric Clapton. When I was 20 years old, it was the post-Layla record, and which sold rather well. Layla was actually Paddy Harrison, but let's not go into that because so Eric was a hero of mine, obviously, because he came up with some stuff we'd never heard before, ever, never heard it. Just like the first time he had Hendrix, And we did this record, and Eric was not in particularly good shape, and I turned into 21 years old one night, which in England is a big thing. I know in America it's also a mark of manhood. But you get the keys to the house, and it's a fairly big deal. And I'm at the studio with young Mr. Clapton. And he said, "So it's your birthday?" And I went, "Well, as a matter of fact, yes, it is." 21? I went, "Well, yes." "Well, your birthday present for me is your co-producer on this album." And I immediately went, ka-ching. And then, it fell to pieces. But recently I got to get my hands on this stuff from how long ago is that? 1971? I think that's 39 years. And it was so nice to clean my plate and finish it up and get it right. And unfortunately, the drummer killed his mother with a Paul Bean hammer and a knife and then cut her face off. Carl Wadle is dead. Bobby Whitlock thinks he's a rock star. And Eric only has, 2 billion pounds or something.
You've heard quite a few famous tones. What should we know? What's your advice?
Well, in the end, does it really matter? Because a lot of people listen on their bloody laptops now with those stupid little speakers. But yes, of course, you have to have the right sound of the guitar or guitars so that it impresses you emotionally the way it should. And it's not impossible. All you have to do is run it down. So normally I have like 4 basic setups. Well, not normally, often 4 basic setups, and you have to have the guy in the room with you, and you have to have, hopefully, that's why I always use piggybacks, because if it's a combo amp, the guy's got to sit and play out there, and you can't fuck with him. But, which is good sometimes, you've got to know when to shut up as well. All right, okay, I'll just go and watch TV for a bit. Something, but I just hear it, It's all I've ever done all my life, and a lot of people, like Jimmy Page and Eric Clapton and Jeff Beck and Hendrix, they didn't really know what they were doing, but they always sounded pretty damn amazing, And then you ask them, "Wait a minute, how'd you do that?" "I don't know." Just played it, really. You can sit and you can get a sound that you think, this should work for everything. You might be stupid enough to think that. But it's the best rhythm sound I ever got, or that's the best bass sound I ever got. And then you go to another song in a different key, in a different tempo, and it's totally inappropriate. And if you start hearing things that fall out of the air when you're doing overdubs and arrangements and shit, which is for me the most fun of all time, coaching vocals isn't fun, mixing can be sort of. But you have to hear it, and it's up here, and you have a sound picture up here, and you know you can get it, even if it means, some people would say, wasting 3 hours, but it's not wasting 3 hours, because when you get there, that's right, there it is. Now we can play that part because the sound is appropriate. Sometimes it's just right off the bat, you know, but at other times it might take you a couple of sessions, and then you listen to your work because you go on to other songs, and you come back and you listen sort of 2 weeks, 10 days, 3 weeks later, and you go, uh-oh, that wasn't right. What were we thinking? No, that was what was I thinking.
What are you up to these days?
Oh, these days I just did a record with the New York Dolls. I'm playing with those guys now. So we just did a record in Newcastle, England. It was actually a pretty cool situation because we were out of LA and out of New York, and we didn't have any, you know, the usual weirdos coming around and interfering or whatever you would want to call it. So it was like we just recorded, you know, mainly concentrating on recording and not really any extracurricular activities. So it was good to do that, you know.
What advice would you have for people who, a lot of our readers, you know,
Wrong guy, man. Okay, what?
when it comes to gear, when it comes to tone, you know, half the fun is exploring and playing a million new things and constantly looking for things. What should we know on this quest for tone? You've been around the block. What advice would you have for people?
I just say whatever feels good. That's it. For tone, and I mean in terms of specific amplifiers and all that kind of stuff, you know, I go from, I think a twin reverb is a really good amp to start with or to finish with or whatever. There's so many amps out there, you know, I don't know. I use a few different amps on this record. I use like a twin and a Silvertone. Remember the Silvertones from Sears? I used a Silvertone amp, and I had a Silverface Bassman. And I even recorded with my Gretsch without an amp, with the microphone right in front of it, and it gets really killer tone, you know? It's like a real Dwayne Eddy kind of thing. It sounds better in the amp. Like Blondie, one way or another, you know, there's that tone going on there. It's more like a overdrive kind of thing.
What guitar?
What guitar did I use on that? It had to be a Les Paul. I think it was a Les Paul standard. You know, it was funny actually when I did the solo for Rapture. I didn't know the song. I just come in to do the solo. So, you know, I went into the studio and Mike had these two BC Rich guitars. One was a 10-string, and the other was a 6-string. Yeah. And so he basically said, "Okay, I listened to the song maybe once." And when that solo part comes, he goes, "Play now." And it was like 2 takes, and that was it. There was no real thinking about it. But that's, once you start thinking about things too much, it gets a little weird. You know, I'd rather just go by the feel of it and not think too much about it, you know, not contrive it to the point of, you know, it sounds slick and sterile. Those days, I was using all kinds of amps too, Vox, Marshall, Roland, JCN, what was it, a 120?
Yeah.
Pedal-wise, I'm not really a pedal guy. I use a Roland Chorus Echo, and it sounds really great. You know, I've had that since Blondie days, you know. But all these other pedals, it gets a little confusing. There's so many things out there, and it's overwhelming. So someone would have to say to me, "Here, this is the one," or else I'd be lost. So with pedals.
Thank you so much for
All
your
right.
time. I
Thank
appreciate
you
it.
for everything.
I'm Joe Coffey. You're watching PremierGuitar.com.